We are not concerned over demand for electric vehicles. We think they'll be the future. Tesla is still the leader there.
This quarter is another good reminder of just how short-term the market is, to what Tasha's saying. The questions from the investment Wall Street professionals are about production in the next quarter.
In this video, Tasha Keeney and the folks at Ark Invest once again missed the trees for the forest. For some weird reason, they keep looking into the future and talking about autonomy and data and scalability and robotaxis, and don't seem too interested in Tesla's short-term gross automotive margins. Weirdly, they also have some thoughts on Tesla's next generation vehicle that doesn't even exist yet. Why would they even be talking about that? It's weird. I feel unsafe with all this talk about the long term. So, fair warning, make sure Daddy's here to hold your hand, because this could be a scary video. There may be some discussion about the future.
Tasha, why don't you start? Just give us a quick rundown of the quarter for Tesla and some of these FSD updates we got.
Yeah, so Tesla reported last week. I think, a lot of the concern is sort of over, we'd call them shorter term things. So mainly, how our margin's going to be affected by price cuts. We heard that there would be factory updates that'll affect production. And, as well as sort of this kind of looming concern of demand. But I'd say from the Ark side, thanks to Sam's work, we are not concerned over demand for electric vehicles. We think they'll be the future. Tesla is still the leader there.
Amazingly, this is still a controversial opinion, suggesting that there aren't any concerns about EV demand in mid-2023, still going against the grain. Just 2 months ago, give or take, Morgan Stanley published a new research note in which they doubled down on their prediction that only 1/4 of all new vehicles sold in the United States in 2030 will be electric. It truly boggles the mind that people who are so intelligent can so completely and utterly fail to see the writing on the wall. Electric vehicles are superior technology on everything by a massive margin. They perform better. They're safer by default due to the battery pan, lower rollover risk, no engine meaning a massive crumple zone, better performance, better for the environment, and importantly, costs continue to decline. It's a new technology. As more are produced globally, the average cost for an electric vehicle will continue to decline. Battery costs are declining predictably. We know all these things. They're going to get better and cheaper throughout the decade. They're already around price parity with internal combustion engine vehicles. The Model Y today in the United States is cheaper to buy in terms of purchase price. Forget about incentives, just to purchase, than the average new vehicle. It will become significantly cheaper over the coming years. Tesla has a next generation vehicle, half the price to produce of today's Model 3 and Model Y. Consumer sentiment is shifting rapidly. I can understand if your average person on the street might be off on their estimate of how many electric vehicles will be sold at the end of the decade. But those whose job it is to actually predict these things, unless you have, and I don't mean to make light of this, but unless you have a learning disability, the information is there. Predictably declining costs, already at price parity, will get much cheaper, already better on everything that matters. If we rewind the clock a century or so, I'm sure these same geniuses on Wall Street in particular would have been saying the horse and carriage will be around for decades to come because these new fancy automobiles, there's looming demand concerns. Tell you what, I'm not going to have a lot to say once people finally get it. But until then, bro, I just don't think people understand. Ark are one of the exceptions to this rule.
On the autonomy side, what was really interesting was, I think, just zooming out over time, Sam, FSD autonomy is such a focus. And if you look back 5 years ago, it was barely talked about at all. So I think, that's, from our perspective, that's great because we think it'll be, over 60% of the enterprise value of the company over the next 5 years. So I'm happy to see it talked about so much. We did hear Elon say, he thinks it's going to be quasi-infinite demand for the Robotaxi, right? We think that, we've estimated the total addressable market is more like $11 trillion, let's say, over the next decade for Robotaxi or autonomous ride hail.
So as I've mentioned in the past, given this is such a tiny opportunity, and I mean tiny, we can just ignore it. There's no point going through the exercise of modeling out what if, never mind trying to consider whether or not Tesla does in fact have an unassailable lead and this is a winner takes most market. Not worth thinking through the exercise. Is it even possible for another company to catch up to Tesla and then overtake them? And if so, what would be involved in that? How many tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars would they need to spend? How would they produce the vehicles with the sensors to overtake Tesla's fleet of now 4+ million vehicles on roads? There's absolutely no point going through this exercise because $11 trillion is nothing. To put it in context, I mean, that's only one Apple plus one Amazon plus one Google doubled. Like I said, we should definitely ignore this. In fact, not only should we ignore this, but under no circumstances should we even consider modeling this out and assigning a probability. Instead, it's much better to just wait until it's already happened, if it happens, then put it in our spreadsheet and our valuation model after the fact. Because that's how you make money in the stock market, by waiting until something actually turkey slaps you in the face as opposed to anticipating it occurring ahead of time. Wait, is that how investing works? I can't remember. Just some guy on the internet.
And we heard that Tesla say that they think that their Robotaxi vehicle could be, in terms of produce cars per hour, the highest production of any car in history, which I think just kind of highlights their commitment to this.
Tasha, what do you say? I feel like one of the biggest pushbacks, full self-driving, it's just never going to happen. It's impossible.
Yeah. Well, I think, so we get asked this question a lot. So our midpoint is that Tesla will launch a Robotaxi service in 2024. So that's next year.
So there's three possibilities here. Either Ark's been copying my homework, zero chance. I've been copying Ark's homework, I'm afraid not. Or we've both independently arrived at the same launch date for Robotaxis. It just so happens to be the latter. Now, we don't know. I've been wrong in the past about plenty of predictions. So too have Ark. In fact, they were very aggressive with their EV production estimates a few years ago. If you go look at some of the early research from Ark had much more aggressive estimates for EV production globally just a few years ago. But the overall shape of the curve, they're still on track, just shifted a few years. Now, none of us know what's going to happen, but my estimate for the Robotaxi fleet launch in late 2024 remains unchanged since I first published my Tesla valuation model back in 2021. This has flown directly in the face of Tesla's own estimates. Elon has been quite confident that Tesla was just about to solve autonomy for many years in a row. He is, admittedly, pathologically optimistic. Makes two of us. That being said, the fact that I haven't changed my estimates for when autonomy is solved for the last 2 years speaks to the fact that I've seen no new information, nothing, to cause me to change my mind, to bring it forward or push it back. I believe Tesla is firmly on track. Now, to be clear, when I talk about Tesla solving autonomy, what I mean is Tesla's first legal Robotaxi fair taking place somewhere on Earth. It's clear there are already parts of San Francisco where Tesla could be operating Robotaxis. That is the region on Earth for which they have the most data and their software performs the best. I encourage you, watch some videos online, folks like Hallmars and others, essentially mimicking Uber or Lyft trips, point to point, with zero intervention, the car doing all of the driving, making turns, stopping, braking, overtaking, getting from the very beginning to the end destination without intervention. It's true the software will still occasionally make a mistake, but Tesla's fleet continues to grow, they're building more training compute, they're streamlining and refining the entire stack, and I'll be quite surprised if by the end of next year, Tesla isn't able to safely operate Robotaxis in some portions of the United States. The important point here is that Tesla can roll out their Robotaxis almost instantaneously at scale because existing vehicles already driving around, human-driven vehicles, once autonomy is solved and enabled in certain regions, without any HD pre-mapping, without any LiDAR, a vehicle that's already on roads, and there's over 4 million of them now, can start operating autonomously. There are no other autonomous vehicle providers anywhere who have this kind of scale. And this is the most important thing to understand. Like I said, if Tesla wanted already, they could be operating Robotaxis in some portions of San Francisco. Just geofence it into a very small area, make sure you're not making mistakes on any of these streets. Off you go. But that's not their goal. Their goal is a generalized autonomous solution that scales rapidly and widely. And on this, there is no second place. Whether or not Tesla does solve autonomy in late 2024, whether it's sooner than that or later than that, that's not really the point. The point is it possible for any other company to catch up and scale autonomy like Tesla will be able to do? And the answer is clearly no. But don't tell that to the autonomy leaderboard, which still has Tesla about dead fucking last.
Like, why do we think that? Well, okay, Tesla has said, and Elon has said many times, that he thinks this year they will solve for full self-driving, meaning, right now it's a beta software. You have to keep your hands on the wheel. What I imagine full self-driving to be is, you actually don't have to pay attention as the driver anymore. So I think that one, we've always been a little bit more conservative than Elon. So, we think, if they cross that threshold this year, what's the likelihood they'll actually launch a service, which kind of does take some, operational and logistics bandwidth to do. But I also think that, there's a lot of things that give us confidence. So there's that sort of, managing Tesla's timeline. There's looking at the videos that we see online, posted on Twitter by users. Some of them actually, you don't have the steering wheel nag feature on, so their hands are actually off. But they're completing what look like, start to finish ride-hail rides with Uber on their phone, or at least, barely touching the wheel, maybe in the very beginning and the very end. So it seems like the FSD capability, at least in certain geographies, right? Maybe not everywhere, maybe California, where it works the best. It looks really close to possible. And then the third thing that I'd mention is just, all the updates that we've seen this year in AI broadly. We know that those in diffusion models and large language models it's not exactly the same. That a lot of those advances should in some way port over to other industries like autonomy. And I think actually diffusion is a good example because we know that Tesla is moving towards that even more so.
And I think, Nick, before you ask a question here, I see you want to. I think the other thing that's important to point out is that there are already autonomous cars out there that are charging money for rides, right? So just the basic assumption that it's impossible and will never happen needs to be thrown out of the window, because there's over 10 cities right now where you have autonomous cars. And so the question isn't, is this possible? We know it's possible. The question is, how quickly can this scale? And I think, the exciting thing about Tesla's approach is the potential for how quickly it can scale. But Nick, over to you.
Well, they're taking the words right out of my mouth. That's what happens when I don't watch these videos before I react in real time.
Yeah, I have just a question on the OEM announcement and Tesla potentially licensing FSD. We should be taking that as a good sign that FSD is getting, close to, full scale release if they're in talks with other OEMs to license it, right?
And also, what's an OEM?
Yes, original equipment manufacturer. That's an automaker. I'm glad you brought that up, Nick, because one, it was a very important takeaway from the call. I don't know, there's two ways to look at this. It's like the traditional automakers have not been very good at autonomy. So I don't know, do I actually trust their judgment as to what their next move is? Maybe not. But I, to your point, yes, it's like Tesla has to be showing them something that they think is interesting. I also just think it's kind of like the supercharger network is the gateway drug in this situation, right? So we saw a lot of automakers sign up for that. It seems it's better for them. It's also obviously better for Tesla. It gives them kind of a nose under the hood into other electric vehicles. And I don't think that every traditional automaker will be successful in autonomy. And according to Sam and I's work, we think that industry will consolidate quite a bit. So I'm not surprised to see it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't actually recall Ark Invest, prior to Tesla announcing on this earnings call that they were in talks with an OEM about licensing FSD, ever having suggested that other companies would license this software from Tesla in the future. Let me know if I've overlooked this and they have actually said this, but I've never seen it before. Perhaps Ark's working assumption is that legacy automotive manufacturers will all be out of business and therefore who's going to be licensing the software? I don't know. But again, I do have to emphasize the implications of other companies licensing this software from Tesla are profound. Again, please refer to my Tesla valuation model, available exclusively on Patreon to supporters at the investor level and above. This makes an absolutely ridiculous impact on Tesla's financials, particularly toward the end of this decade and beyond. My valuation model, for those who don't know, at least the one I share publicly, extends for 10 years. The way to think about this, what percent of the global vehicle fleet, and remember the fleet today globally is about 2 billion vehicles, most of them aren't electric, but over time they'll all be electric. What percent of the global vehicle fleet will be licensing Tesla's FSD? When you have a number, all you need to do then is multiply how much per month these companies charge, what cut of that goes directly to Tesla, by the way, it's pretty much all pure profit, and make sure you have something to clean up after you do the numbers.
And I want to switch gears here. Maybe we'll come back to FSD, but we did also get news on Cybertruck. Elon saying demand is so far off the hook, you can't even see the hook. What are your thoughts? Sam, I know you've looked at it. Tasha, curious your thoughts there as well.
Yeah, from the Google Trends, anytime Cybertruck is mentioned, you can see the search demand for it is pretty crazy. It surpasses that of the Model Y, which is very rare considering that the Model Y is in production and a car that you can actually buy, and the Cybertruck is just starting production. And then the interesting thing there is if you look at the states where that search volume is highest, it is middle of the country.
One other data point I'd like to add here, kind of important. Model Y is already the world's best-selling vehicle. Think about this. If Cybertruck, which has yet to enter production, is trending higher in terms of search volume on Google every time it's mentioned than the highest-selling vehicle, the best-selling vehicle on the planet, this obviously means that it's not going to sell many units when it enters production.
And that's great because a lot of EV buyers right now are on the coast, and that's where a lot of Tesla's customers are. So these are people who, you would imagine are using trucks more, potentially for work as well. And so to see that demand there is great.
Yeah, the camo wrap on the Cybertruck, that's a chef's kiss. That is a cool looking vehicle.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. Obviously, I think Musk is hedging it and, saying it's a lot of new technology. And, we know how technology ramps go and can be slow to scale. So you do need to balance that. And I think this quarter is another good reminder of just how short-term the market is, to what Tasha's saying. The questions from the investment Wall Street professionals are about production in the next quarter.
This is accurate, and it's the story of Tesla's life. It's a recurring theme. I know a lot of people have a short memory, but I would just like to remind you guys, it was earlier this year in 2023, when Tesla held Investor Day 2023 and unveiled the 50% cheaper manufacturing system and tweaks to produce a compelling electric vehicle for literally half the price of today's Model 3 and Model Y. To which most on Wall Street, most in the finance media, many retail investors, and of course the Jim Cramers of YouTube, whose names I won't mention, almost universally referred to the Investor Day as disappointing. This is one of the most challenging things my brain has ever attempted to process. How? It broke my brain. How is it possible? So many people do not understand the implications of a half-price vehicle, a new manufacturing system that's entering production. I just didn't get it. I couldn't get it. But I realize now, in retrospect, it took me a few months to figure it out. It was just the short-sighted nature of investors and or an unwillingness to actually think. Now, in totally unrelated matters, let's do a thought exercise that has absolutely nothing to do with Tesla or autonomy. Just imagine, hypothetically, there was a company called Definitely Not Tesla, whose market cap, give or take today, was roughly $1 trillion based on the sale of predominantly electric vehicles, who was on the cusp of unlocking a $10 trillion opportunity. Again, this is all hypothetical. It's got nothing to do with Tesla or autonomy. That's why this company is called Definitely Not Tesla. And, well, the $10 trillion opportunity is called Definitely Not Autonomy. If in this hypothetical scenario it were true that this company called Definitely Not Tesla, currently worth less than $1 trillion in terms of market cap, was on the cusp of unlocking a $10+ trillion opportunity called Definitely Not Autonomy, and seemed poised to take a huge slice of that market opportunity, perhaps you might even say they had an unassailable lead, wouldn't it be strange if most investors were more interested in short-term details of the business currently valued at less than $1 trillion as opposed to trying to ascertain a little bit more clarity around the opportunity worth $10 trillion that is just around the corner? Wouldn't that be strange? Of course, like I said, this has nothing to do with Tesla or autonomy, so let's move on.
Next 2 quarters, what's pricing going to do? Meanwhile, you have a company that's ramping over 50% growth year over year, is in the best position cost, kind of cutting prices to drive demand if they need to and still remaining profitable. So I think this is kind of a classic case of, if you look short term, you can find things and say, oh, we want more. But if you take a step back and you just appreciate this picture and the progress they're making, it's pretty remarkable. And then maybe as a last topic here, Tasha, I know you and Daniel who have been doing work on this, but the rate of data collection for Tesla and full self-driving, what did we learn in this quarter, and why is it so meaningful?
Yeah, so everyone go follow our associate Daniel McGuire on Twitter. He's doing a lot of great work. And what Sam's talking about is, we've looked at Waymo and Cruise, which are the 2 companies that actually have autonomous commercial vehicles on the road, to give them credit today. But they're doing it in somewhat of a geofenced strategy. Certain cities they're launching. They have at most, I believe, hundreds of cars on the road. Although Cruise does have plans to scale that to over 1 million in the fleet by the end of the decade, or by 2030. But how quickly are they actually, let's say, collecting data? And when I say collecting data, it's the option to look at the miles that these cars are driving and pull interesting situations out of them. So you're not collecting every data point. But Waymo and Cruise and Tesla, if you compare Tesla's FSD miles driven in FSD by customers, how long did it take each of these companies to get to their most recent additional 1 million mile mark? So how quick can they drive 1 million miles? Okay, for Waymo, it's close to 2 years. For Cruise, it's like a month and a half based on their most recent announcement. For Tesla, they're actually collecting over 2 million miles of FSD data per day. And that's just FSD, by the way. They have hundreds of thousands of drivers that are opted into this right now, but they have millions of cars on the road. So that they're able to test other features in shadow mode on a very large fleet. But just FSD data alone, over 2 million miles a day compared to 1.5 months and years.
So clearly what Tasha is saying here is that it's a very tight race. It's not obvious who will be the winner. Nobody seems to have an advantage in terms of data collection. It's all very evenly matched here. And whichever lucky company just so happens to solve autonomy first can rest assured that second and third place will almost immediately catch up because they're very even in terms of how much data they're collecting, which is fundamental to training this stuff to actually get more capable.
I mean, I think that just shows the immense data advantage that Tesla has that we think will continue to propel them as one of the most interesting AI plays out there.
Tasha, I want to just wrap on one last question here. Elon, and I think it was in the investor letter note, talked about this next generation vehicle platform. And so you talked about the data advantage, but what about on the manufacturing side? Because he said this would be the fastest produced vehicle in history. I know we don't have a lot of information on it yet, but curious what your thoughts are in hearing the tidbits we got this last quarter.
Yeah, so it's a question of like what is he might mean like particular model, but so it's like Toyota I think produces 8 to 9 million cars a year, but that's multiple models. But in any case, I think that what does this mean? I mean, again, it just shows Tesla's overwhelming commitment to actually making autonomy happen. We do see that, Cruise wants to have 1 million cars on the road in the next 10 years, but I mean, Tesla's planning on ramping this quickly. And if they are successful on the software side, if they do cross that full autonomy mark, just the fact that they are setting up today the capability to make that scale happen really matters, right? Because they're not going to be the first. Waymo and Cruise were the first to launch, but they might be the first to scale.
Will, not might. Now, in Tasha's defense, she works at Ark. They've got their legal requirements, compliance issues. They can't exactly make hyperbolic but accurate statements. This guy can, because I ain't managing any money. I ain't advising anyone to do anything except use your own fucking brain and make your own decisions. And regarding Tesla's next-gen vehicle platform being the fastest vehicle to manufacture, this is core to how Tesla gets from, let's say, about 2 million vehicles produced per year today at an annualized rate to around 20 million by end of decade. The following steps are required. Build a few more factories, each with huge capacity, well in excess of 1 million vehicles per year, probably 2 to 3 over the long term each. There's almost 10 million vehicles of capacity right there. That's step 1, the factories. And step 2 is to develop a new manufacturing system that will allow you to make these vehicles faster than any vehicle in the history of vehicles has been able to be produced previously. For some strange reason, I'm remembering Investor Day 2023 earlier this year with the new manufacturing system. In short, I'm pretty confident. I'm quite confident that Tesla has the pieces of the puzzle necessary to make this happen. I also expect over the next 12, maybe 18 months, we'll probably hear about 2, if not 3 new Tesla factories and or massive expansions at existing sites. Same shit. Almost all of this capacity solely focused on the next-gen vehicle. On the cusp of solving autonomy, unassailable data lead, have developed a new manufacturing system to produce vehicles at lightning speed. Giga Mexico already announced, early works underway, and I strongly suspect a couple more factories will be announced within the next year or so. I do not think the stock market is ready for what's around the corner. With that said, all I really care about is Tesla's gross automotive margins next quarter, and that's all you should care about too. That's why I don't model Tesla out over a decade plus horizon. Oh wait, but I do. There's definitely nothing to see here. Move along. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a fuck ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. Certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point. It's something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy, wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1 shit, is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments. Oh my God, Snake Oil Salmon's sold out. Oh my God, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon, and don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.